We are going to study this editorial on the topic World Trade Organization. So let's start. The topic is World Trade Organization is flailing. So the World Trade Organization's 14th Ministerial Conference, 14th Ministerial Conference has showed up the cracks in the rule-based system. So cracks in the rule-based system. Trade multilateralism is facing its biggest test since the Second World War. The United States coercive unilateralism and the attempts to dilute foundational rules such as the most favored nation treatment threaten to hollow out the entire system. As such, a critical juncture in history, the World Trade Organization's 14th Ministerial Conference MC14, which recently concluded in Yaoundé, Cameroon, March 2026, was expected to reassure the global community about the importance of rule-based global trading order, which limits hegemonic tendencies. Regrettably, the MC14 failed to meet this challenge. While no one expected the MC14 to turn up the trumps, the fact that the 166-member WTO failed to reach consensus on even issuing a ministerial declaration outlining future work is disconcerting. To paper over the cracks, the WTO's Director General declared that MC14 had produced a Yaoundé package comprising certain draft decisions, that is, decisions yet to be finalized, which will be discussed at Geneva in the months ahead. Tale of two moratoriums. The MC14 will go down in history as the one that broke the long standing consensus on moratoriums for two things. So, first of all, flailings. Flailing is movement without control. Okay, movement without control is called flailing. Moratorium means moratorium. Temporary stoppage agreement. So MC14 will go down in history as the one that broke the long-standing consensus or moratorium for two things. First, custom duties on electronic commerce transactions. Since the 1998, so this is the first one. Custom duty on electronic commerce transactions. Since the 1998, WTO member countries agreed not to impose custom duty on electronic commerce transactions to keep digital trade flows free. The moratorium has been extended every 2 years since its exception. However, at MC14, countries were unable to reach an agreement on extending the moratorium, which thus lapsed on March 31. Now, today, countries are free to impose tariffs on digital trade flows. Thus, it is to impose tariffs on digital trade flows. Though it is expected that the WTO General Council will deliberate on this issue again in the months ahead, while this may provide developing countries with an opportunity to augment their revenue, it will burden consumers and businesses. A significant development that accompanied the end of an e-commerce moratorium was the signing of an e-commerce agreement by 66 WTO members, which prohibits custom duties on digital trade. Although not yet part of the WTO rulebook and binding only for the signatories, this agreement will establish two separate legal frameworks: the WTO, which allows tariff on legal trade, and the ECA, which does not. The second moratorium, in force since 1995, barred non-violation complaints under the WTO's TRIPS agreement. The WTO allows countries to file claims not only for legal violations but also when a country's measures nullify another country's anticipated benefits, even if those measures are legal. This raises concerns for developing nations that their laws to promote public health could provoke complaints from developed countries alleging that they nullify the benefits of their intellectual property. Although such complaints are possible, history recites that they are unlikely to succeed, as evidenced by the failure of all 10 non-violence complaints related to trade in goods at the WTO. Plurilateral innovation, a so-called low-hanging fruit at the MC14 was the incorporation of plurilateral innovation facilitation for development. Agreement into Annex 4 of the WTO agreement with support from 129 of the 166 countries. However, it did not materialize due to the India's opposition. New Delhi opposed the IFD's inclusion for multiple regions. However, it did not materialize due to India's opposition. New Delhi opposed the investment facilitation for development for multiple regions, including the absence of legal safeguards to incorporate plurilateral agreements into the WTO acquis. Plurilateral agreements to be incorporated into the WTO should be open and inclusive rather than exclusive. The failure to include the investment facilitation for development has deepened the WTO's legislative crisis as the organization struggles to establish rules for 21st century challenges. No roadmap for the future. MC14 failed to provide a clear roadmap for WTO reforms. Critical issues such as reviving the stalled appellate function of the WTO's dispute settlement system. Critical issues such as reviving the stalled appellate function of the WTO's dispute settlement system have been postponed. Any attempts by the development world, especially the US, to undermine key principles such as MFN and the special and differential treatment must be strongly resisted. It is often said that those who do not learn from history are doomed to be repeated. The history of trade multilateralism demonstrates that whenever trade multilateralism slows, American unilateralism tends to rise. This occurred in the early 1970s when the General Agreement on tariff and trade negotiations floundered, leading to the enactment of strict measures such as the Section 301 of the US Trade Act of 1974. This provision empowers the US President to take unilateral action against perceived unfair trade practices. We are currently witnessing a similar situation, but this time without congressional approval and with far greater vengeance. A setback at the MC14 will exacerbate these trends. Additionally, the failure of the MC14 will accelerate the trend of countries creating new trade rules outside the WTO. To keep the WTO relevant, innovative solutions must be found, such as plurilateralizing the WTO. India should take the lead in developing the legal guardrails needed for the development and adoption of the plurilateral agreements within the WTO. Achieving this will require a novel approach and unflinching political commitment to trade multilateralism. So that's it. Thank you so much.